Hey, how's it guys? Alright, so in this video, we're going to learn how to build your own AI assistants using OpenAI's Assistants API in Python. So the Assistants API is one of the newest APIs released by OpenAI, which is designed to enable developers to easily build different AI assistants. Now, to be honest, this is actually pretty complicated than expected in terms of building the AI assistants, just because there are different parts involved. Now, to create your own AI assistants using the OpenAI framework, so we have different components. So if we go on the API reference on the beta, so right now the API is still under the beta development stage. Now, if we look at the component here, so we have 4 different components: assistants, threads, messages, and runs. Each component serve different purpose, and which I'll walk you to in this quick start tutorial. Now, first, I want to just quickly walk through the pricing. Now, to create your own AI assistants, there can be different pricings involved based on the models you're using or the tools that you're using. Now, when you're building a AI assistants, you can use the GPT-4 turbo model or the GPT 3.5 turbo model, one or the other. But the GPT-4 turbo model is going to give you more accurate response. At the same time, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. On top of that, you can also include different functions. You can include the code interpreter function, which is to let the assistants to run the Python code using OpenAI server. And retrieval is you can upload supporting documents or files to enhance the AI assistance to be able to retrieve information that is not available on the web. And for a new user, you can simply go to openai.com, sign up for an account, and as a new user, you get $5 of credit, but you need to use the credit within 90 days. All right, so for this exercise, we're going to build an AI assistant to teach us how to use Python. Now, the first step is we're going to import the libraries. Now, to create the AI assistants, I'm going to import 2 libraries. One is the type module. The other one is the OpenAI class from OpenAI's module. Now, here I'm going to construct my OpenAI object, and I'll name the object as client. Now here, just in case, if you don't have the library installed, you can install the library using the command pip install OpenAI. So here it is, save my API key as an environment variable for the OpenAI library to read the API key. And if you're a new user, you can watch my introduction tutorial on how to get started with OpenAI's API. Now, the first step is we need to create an assistance template. And the template is being used to define the purpose of the AI assistants. Now, depending on your use case, you can create as many AI assistants as you want, and each assistant can have different purpose. Now, to create the assistance template from client.beta, right now, as I mentioned before, the API is still in the beta stage. I want to reference the assistance module.create. Now, if we look at the parameters here, and I'll focus on the most important parameters. The first one is going to be model. Now, currently, the assistant supports 2 models. One is the GPT 3.5 Turbo November 06 model. And the other one, I believe, is the GPT, this one here, GPT-4 November 6 preview model. Then we need to give the instruction on to define the purpose of the assistance. So here I'm going to say, you are my Python tutor. When asked a question, write and run Python code to answer the question. And here, let me take out this line here. Write the Python code to answer the question. Then I'm going to name my AI assistants, and I'll name the assistants Python tutor. Then I'm going to define the model. Now let me go ahead and run the script to create my assistance object. I want to go to step by step, so don't get confused. And just because there are multiple steps involved. Now, if I print this my assistance object, Now, if we look at the assistance object record, so here's the assistance ID. So the ID is going to be used to reference the AI assistants. So imagine that you have multiple AI assistants created. And the only way that you can reference a specific assistance is by using the ID field, or not ID field, ID value. Then we have the date creation, description. This one's optional. File IDs. So the file IDs field is going to be used when you upload documents to the OpenAI's file server. You can actually use those documents or files to enhance the capability of the AI assistants. And I'll show you an example in a separate video. Now, instruction is going to be the purpose. So you need to define the purpose of what the AI assistance is about. So in this case, my instruction is that the assistance is a Python tutor. And when I ask a question, I want the assistance to return any examples or any response with a code example. Now, metadata is another parameter that I'm not going to cover in this video, but basically you can use the metadata field or property to add additional information to enhance the capability or accuracy of the AI assistance, followed by a model and the name of the assistance. Now, step 2 is going to create a thread. You can think a thread as a conversation container. So for example, you have 3 different users using this Python to the assistance. In that case, you are going to create 3 threads instances. And each thread is going to assign to each user. So let's call this message. Actually, let's do conversation container. Now I want to look at the document string real quick. Now if we look at the doc string, so here we can actually predefine the messages. So for example, assuming that when a user start a conversation and want to provide a predefined conversation messages before the users start the conversation. In that case, you can use the messages parameter to pre-supply the messages. But in this case, I just want to create empty thread. Step 3 is going to add a message to the thread. Now, if we look at the function here, so both the thread and message objects are created using client.beta.threads. And this one is threads.messages.create. Now, when we create a message, so the message is going to be the prompt from the user. So here we need to assign the thread ID, which is to assign a conversation container to store the messages. Then we need to define the role. In this case, will be user. So for the prompt, I'm going to say, I need to reverse a list of elements. How can I do that? And because from my instruction here, I already defined the purpose that this is a Python to the assistance. So any code that the assistant provides is going to be in Python syntax. Now, if you're learning other programming language like Java, JavaScript, then you can modify the instructions to be like you are my Java tutor. When ask a question, write the code to answer the question. Now, here let me go ahead and create these 2 objects. And I'll print both thread and message objects. And this should be message. Now here from the thread object, we have the thread ID. So one really important thing to know is that OpenAI does not store the threads ID in the system. So make sure that you manually store the thread ID in case if you accidentally terminate the session and need to reference the thread again. Unfortunately, currently there's no thread.list method available. And I believe that OpenAI is currently working on it. Then here we have the thread message object. Now, if we look at the thread message object here, so here we can see that this message is under this thread here. And here's the message content that was just created. Now, at this point, we haven't really sent the message or the prompt to the assistants yet. Right now, this prompt is still hanging somewhere on the cloud or on your PC. Now, to send a request to the assistants, so here, this will be step 4. So we need to use client.beta.threads.runs.create. So we need to run the message basically. And here we need to provide the thread ID and the assistance ID. Now here, the instructions is optional. Now, just in case, if we want to supply a specific instruction to different users. For example, user 1 may be a beginner when it comes to using Python. User 2 may be someone who has a few years of experience, and user 3 might be an expert in Python. In that case, based on the user or based on different condition, you can further down provide even more defined instructions. And the instruction from the thread level is going to be catering to the users or based on further condition. All right, so here I'm going to go ahead and make the request code to send the prompt to the AI assistants. Now let's look at this run object here. All right, so most of the properties are going to be self-explanatory. The key one here is going to be status. So right now my prompt is still sitting in the queue. It's waiting to be processed. And once the prompt is processed and complete, the status is going to get updated to complete, and you're going to have the timestamp for complete as value. Now, to address the issue, so here we can insert while loop. We can check if the status is complete. And if not, then we can wait for 1 second, then check the status of the run session. All right, so here let's go ahead and run this code block here. Now looks like the session is complete. Now to display the message, so here we can use client.beta.threads.messages.list. Then we're going to supply the thread ID. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and print the messages on this thread. Now, because here, let me show you. Let me go ahead and print the messages object. Now, the messages object is going to return a list of the thread message records. And if you want to retrieve the last message, then you will reference the first record. So you can type messages.data, followed by referencing the first record, .content. And I believe that content will always only have one message, followed by .text.value. Now if I print line 50, and here's the output generated by the AI assistants. Now if I want to retrieve the entire conversation or the entire message thread, we can reference the messages object.data, and it's going to return a list. And message.data is going to return a list of thread messages. Then we can iterate each item and print the message content. And here, let's look at the output. So right here is the first message, which is my prompt. Now everything after this line here is going to be the response created by the AI assistants. And if we read this line here, so it says, "Hi JJ," and because from the thread level, I provided my name in the instructions, so it knows my nickname, JJ. And here's the explanation on how to reverse a list with the code example from the assistant's response. Now, let's say you want to ask a follow-up question. In that case, here let's go to step 7. You'll need to create a new message. In this case, I'm going to name the thread message object follow-up message. And I'll provide the thread ID, define the role, and the follow-up question. Then I'll create a new run session, and I'll provide the thread ID and the assistant ID. Then I'll wait until the status of the session is complete. Then I can display the response. Now here, let me go ahead and run step 7 all the way to step 10. Right, so now it's still in progress. Okay, so looks like it's finished. Now from the print statement this time, I have a line divider to divide each message. So here's message number 1, number 2, and right here's the follow-up question. And I have a typo here. This should be, can you give me a few project ideas? And here's the response from the assistants. All right, so this is going to be everything I'm going to cover in this tutorial. And I'll be making follow-up videos on how to incorporate co-interpreter and how to upload files to work with the AI Assistants API, as well as how to use different methods from the Assistants API. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.